with your hosts, Jared Logan and Joe O'Brien.
Hail Satan! Hail Satan, hail Asmodeus, hail Moloch.
Yes.
All of the demons of the nine hells have brought us, Jared Logan and Joe O'Brien, here to deliver Glass Cannon Radio on the Glass Cannon Network, the only show where you get to call in and probably not have a real opinion, just kind of go, hey guys, I also agree, and then we hang up on you.
Oh, no. I think there's going to be a lot of debate today. Yes.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I think so. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I encourage that debate. We have an incredible show today. We are going to talk about the new trailer for an Alien TV show, Alien Earth. That trailer just dropped. Then we're going to talk about the Alien franchise in general. That's going to lead us into a discussion about railroading, right?
Yes.
And we're also going to have a contest today. We'll get to that contest question in a minute. First, I have to address the lack of an elephant in the room. Seth Skorkowski was supposed to be here with us today, and he was forced to cancel due to technical difficulties that he found out about yesterday. His entire internet line was cut. By
literally,
the company.
physically cut.
Yeah, they had a big pair of shears, like when they open the ribbon to a new bank, and they cut it in half. No, he really couldn't make it. He's very sorry, but we're gonna have him on an episode very soon.
Yeah, we're gonna reschedule. And we had some fun stuff to talk about, and we bumped that too. So we bumped that back, and we thought, what's going on right now in geekdom? And man, that Alien Earth trailer dropped. So let's talk a little Alien.
We got to get into Alien, but before that, I want to talk about how incredible Las Vegas was.
Oh, the 10th birthday of the Glass Cannon podcast.
That's right, the 10th birthday of the Glass Cannon podcast at the Link Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. If you weren't there, you missed out. If you did not attend, the lifelong friendships and heights of the gaming art form that were achieved will forever be out of your grasp. Forever. There's no way to get those moments back. No, we really had an incredible time. I played all kinds of games.
Yeah, it was like a lot of gaming, a lot of different games going on, obviously, and a lot of fan run stuff. And yeah. So did I.
And on topic,
I played in one of your games. You GM'd a Delta Green game that I played in. That was so fun.
Right, and I played in your Delta Green game, and they were connected. That was kind of cool.
Yep,
loosely connected. And then I played Space Base for the first time. The Space Base, I guess you'd call it a board game. And here's my thing. So when we started playing Space Base, if anybody knows, Space Base is like you roll dice, and then based on that, you get a certain amount of money, and then you can buy little rocket ships to go into your space base, and then those rocket ships affect how much money and income and ultimately victory points that you get. And they they interact with each other in interesting ways. So when I first started playing it, I was immediately like, I'm not going to like this. Because because it seemed like Dominion to me, where you're really kind of playing by yourself, and the only interaction is when people snipe the card you wanted,
Right.
Other than that,
there's no like attacking other players. There's no
attacking.
Yeah,
there's
stealing victory points from other players.
There's no stealing victory points. To me, it's not even as interactive as a worker placement. Like, in a worker placement, the snagging of resources seems to me a little bit more, I don't know, interactive. I don't know why I feel that way. So I was really worried it was going to be like Dominion. But then we got to playing, and I almost won, having never played before in my life. So I don't know how good the game is if a new player can just... I mean, I was this close to winning.
You were this close to winning, and I would
Kate
say...
snagged it from me.
what Kate did. She swooped in.
in
just from behind and overtook you with a very unlikely roll of an 11 on a 2d6.
Yes.
Very unlikely roll, but she hit the jackpot on that roll, and it slung it past. I thought that it was a fun game for Vegas. That's for sure. Is really
I loved it. No, I mean, ultimately, I really liked it because I did find that we were able to see. Here's the thing: I'm so into role playing games, but I forget what an intense experience role playing games are. You kind of have to pay close attention the whole time, and you kind of have to maintain character and maintain pacing and all of these different elements. And then it was just actually really nice to sit down and play a game where we could kind of joke around while we were doing it.
Yeah.
Or I could just say nothing and use my board,
yeah,
and play my turn, I mean, that was really lovely. And I was being too hard on Space Base, as I often am on a lot of things. So
yeah, I was very much so we do so much role playing that it is nice and refreshing to play board games sometimes, and specifically something like Space Base, because so you say, I don't know how good of a game it is because a new player just almost won. And I think that to me, that is a reason why a lot of people would say it is a good game. And I could see both arguments, but it's one of those games that is largely dice driven. It is largely luck based, but that creates a relaxation, at least for me at the table, where I'm not having analysis paralysis, that kind of worker placement thing where you're like, I need this, I need A and B and C all just as much as each other. And I can't figure out which one the other opponent needs more and how I can outmaneuver what. There's none of that. You can just relax and roll dice and kind of see what happens. But you are making a lot of strategic choices.
You're making choices that matter.
Yeah. But if the die never goes your way, it never goes your way. But with only 12 numbers, it's not very likely that you'll be completely out of the mix. And so everybody's kind of bopping and shaking. You took a strong early lead, and then everybody started kind of creeping up. And then, Kate, shuttled in there at the end. But it was awesome.
She stole
really
it
fun
from
game.
me. And one day I'll rematch with her. How did you feel your RPG games went that you GM'd?
I loved my RPG games. We'll talk a little bit more about Alien later, but I GM'd 2 Alien games. They were really, really fun, and I can talk a little bit about that GMing process later because I GM'd the same scenario back to back, which I've never done. And it allowed me to it was almost like a quick play test, and it allowed me to change some things.
You also did that with Delta Green, right? You GM'd same scenario back to back? Yeah.
I GM'd the same scenario back to back. The difference with Delta Green is that one was pre-written scenario, and so that was kind of set. There were some things I did a little differently, but in terms of how I presented things that I didn't like the first time, but with Alien, that was, a homebrew. And so, there was a lot of. And this is why I want to talk about railroading and stuff. It's a really interesting concept when you're homebrewing, how to avoid certain railroading traps. But anyway, what else? So I played Space Base. That was really fun. I played in your Delta Green game. You did a great job. I played Moonrakers, which I've talked about before, that's an awesome game. Paula taught me. I played a couple rounds of the Lord of the Rings trick-taking game. I love trick-taking games. I grew up on trick-taking games, so they come very naturally to me. And I've grown to really like The Crew, which is a cooperative trick-taking game that got pretty popular. And I played it with my family, and we had a really good time with it. It's really fun. And now out of that has come this new Lord of the Rings one, where you have missions and you play characters, and your characters have certain goals, and it was really fun. And so thank you to Paula for that. And then
what is it? Just I have 3 Frodos. That's a trick.
Yeah, so it's basically the suits are the hills, the forest, the mountains, and the swamp or something like that, right? Those are the suits, and then they just have numbers 1 to 8. That's it. But the characters are Frodo is in every mission, basically, I think. Well, I don't know. Early on, he's in every mission. And Frodo is his most important goal is different than the other characters. And you choose your character from a limited list. So in the first mission, you can draft between Frodo. And there's a trump card. So whoever randomly gets the best, the one ring, which is the trump card, immediately gets Frodo. And then from there, you pick. You can draft Gandalf or Pippin or Sam or Mary, whatever it is. The first one, you can draft who you want, and each one of those characters has a different goal they need to accomplish. And so Gandalf is there to like help Frodo, and the other ones are there to like they have to get a couple whatever. Anyway, it was really
Can you
fun.
draft Radagast the Brown?
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure Radagast
Nice.
comes up. Whatchamacallit definitely came up. There's another wizard, isn't there?
There's
like,
Saruman,
the
of course. Saruman.
I can't remember. No, maybe it's
And
not
then
a
there
wizard.
are the blue wizards who went to the east, Joe.
So the game is very much based on the book, The Fellowship of the Ring. Like that's very much what it's based on, and not necessarily the film. So, anyway, that was fun. So the highlight for me, though, gaming wise, was learning to play Star Wars Unlimited with Rob Kirkovich. So I really enjoyed Star Wars Unlimited. I thought it was really fun. It is like something I laughed at him about back in Nashville when he was doing it because he's like super, super into it. And I was like, the last thing I'm going to do is get into another like Magic like game, right? A collectible card game, pay to win, sort of like drain all your cash trying to find rare cards kind of game. But I don't know. I got drawn in by the whole thing. Matthew wanted to get into it. I wanted to get into it. And so we all did. And Rob taught us. And we met Garrett out there, who was an attendee who was a huge collector and taught us so much about it. It was so nice. And so, yeah, so now I've brought it home and I'm starting to teach my kids. And it's really fun playing with them because it's a fairly simple game, you know, compared to like a Magic. It's fairly simple. And yeah, you just have a leader. And you've got the space theater and the ground theater of like combat. And as you pull things out, you either pull out ships or ground troops, and you're going against each other on the ground and in space. So if somebody's dominating in space, they may just crush you if you can't beat them on the ground. So you have to kind of have a balanced attack, and you're attacking each other's base. Anyway, it was really fun.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. I beat Matthew
watched a little bit.
times.
It looked cool.
Yeah, and then we did what was called like a draft, right? Like we opened new packs, drafted around. This is where Rob was really teaching us what to do, and Garrett, and me, Rob, Garrett, and Matthew each drafted a short deck of cards and then played each other. I was sweating bullets the whole time I'm drafting, just stressed because I don't know what any of the cards are. And the most important thing to me in the world is winning. And I should say the most important thing for me in the world is not losing, right? So I'm like so stressed out. I'm like, I'm not good at this yet. I don't know how to build a deck. And they're all just like laughing at me. So we get it all done. I play Matthew head to head, and he kicks the shit out of me with this deck that I just drafted.
Yeah, I watched
and he
that.
just drafted. Yeah. And I was like, well done, Matthew. And we like ran out of time, and I had to move on. And then I heard after the fact that Garrett played Matthew and shellacked him. And so Garrett came up to me and was like, I took care of Matthew for you. I beat the hell out of him. And then I found out just after that Rob beat the hell out of Garrett. So like Rob was like the ultimate victor. And yeah, I was like, I don't know what would have happened if I would have played Rob, but it probably would have gotten really ugly. But yeah.
Anytime I would draft Magic, I would die on turn 3 or earlier.
Yeah.
So I've mentioned that before. So yeah, I mean, drafting is it's a skill in and of itself.
It is, and it was hosted by our new friend Garrett. So thank you very much for that, Garrett. If you're listening to this,
Thanks, Garrett.
And yeah,
and I want to thank all of my players, all of my players that I had. I can't name them all, but they were all amazing and fantastic, and really good at playing their characters, and had so many creative ideas. I mean, Joe, all of my scenarios were homebrewed, and now that I'm back in LA, thinking back on it, I'm like, oh, I would have done this differently. I would have done that differently. I would have changed this. But the main takeaway that I have every time I run homebrew scenarios is do less.
Yeah.
I feel like I pack in so much stuff, and then I want to show all of the stuff to the characters. And I think if you're ever writing homebrew scenarios for your players, leave room to breathe. Leave room for them to just fool around, improvise, talk to each other in character. We still had great moments like that because we had such great players. But, I'm always going to be critical of what I did. I'm always going to have ways I'd like to improve.
Me too. Yeah, I was the alien stuff. I was like, I could have done this better. And people seem to be really enjoy the scenario. And like, and ultimately I was in that same that same sort of boat where you're thinking of all the things that you could have changed later or you could have done a little bit better. And I was honestly surprised. I guess I shouldn't have been. I presumed it would be kind of like a con game where players are looking to sort of just get led through the scenario in a lot of ways until some decision points, right? Like you don't want to force people to awkwardly role play with people they just met, especially in like a pretty twisted environment, like a horror scenario and stuff like that. Right. And I should have known that the players would have been much more like Glass Cannon style, right? Would have been much more interested in diving into their character, talking in character, not about the plot, talking about, making decisions in character and letting that take a long time to breathe. And so, I found myself shocked at how much I was just sitting back like, oh, we're not going to do 60% of what I planned here because they're goofing off like a Glass Cannon show. And they were great. So, it was really fun. And,
they were amazing.
Kudos
and
to all my
they knew how to hop right into character. My vampire game, I had the nastiest, most despicable collection of blood-sucking leeches I could possibly hope for. They were all politicking against each other, even though I had planned this big combat scenario. They had plans and wheels within wheels. It was really cool.
And
I'm
awesome.
just writing down that at some point we need to do a segment about. So my players were really great about this. This is in no way. I know we're coming right after talking about Vegas, but this is pointed at nobody in particular. But I really want to talk about the tradition of when you're playing a role-playing game, that moment about 10 minutes after you started where everybody starts introducing their character and they do sometimes they do like a 5-minute monologue about what kind of clothes they're wearing.
Yes.
We got to talk about that. There's got to be an alternative to that, or why is that a thing? I know you need to know what the other characters look like, but I'm always like, especially like on actual plays. I feel like on actual plays, people are constantly like, well, he's a bit of a rascal and he has a shock of red hair and butterflies tend to wait on him. Like it's like this long thing.
You could say this about so many things, obviously, but it's such a player-by-player thing. Like, for me, personally, I go into a scenario, and I'm largely thinking about rules and mechanics, and do I understand my abilities on my sheet and how they all work? Like, that's kind of my priority. And maybe I have, like, a hook or something for my character. Like, that's the idea. I can't even tell you how many times I've gotten on stage or I've been on this camera for a show, and it didn't occur to me until we are in the moment that Troy says or somebody says, like, what does your character look like? I have the vaguest idea of what they look like. I don't know what they're wearing. I don't know how to describe. I don't know what colorway they're, presenting today.
Right, sure.
And so I'm just like, oh, and then I feel like I stumble over that. And I remember back in the day playing with Grant. And when you would go to Grant with a character description, you could tell that he spent, 10, 15 minutes writing, like word for word, exactly what you see, which is like important as well because it gives all the players a clear picture, of what they're looking at. But obviously, he thought so much about that in an area that I never thought about. And so you see the same thing with players, at the tables at Vegas. Like some people are just like, you see an old guy. And then some people are like, he has this in his right pocket, he has this in his left pocket, he has an earring, but he's got tattoos of this and that. And they go into like extreme detail. It's just funny how different people approach the game.
It's different. Yeah. I'm kind of a fan of this is an old guy. And then as you play going, when it comes back to you again, you go, well, he takes his crimson cape off of his shoulder. And then later you're like, he has this very, very hooked nose and he kind of puts it in your face. Like you just find moments to kind of throw that kind of stuff in instead of what I see all the time in actual plays is like people talking for 5 minutes about their eye color. For some reason, nothing could be more boring. If you were reading it in a book and there were 6 paragraphs about what a character looked like, you'd be like, I'll read something else. All right. That's my hot take.
Hot take. I think that
Let's get into
I think we should take a few calls because I think we got some people that
we
were
had a
in
lot to
Vegas
talk
or
about
people
there.
that played some games, or if you want to comment on any of the games we played, Star Wars Unlimited or Space Base, anything like that. Just know this: when you come up to the stage, we're going to chat with you for a minute, and then we're going to ask you a question. We're gonna have a contest question this week for a fun little prize. So in packing for Vegas, I was going through grabbing all my gaming stuff, and I came across something that I think would make a great giveaway. So I am going to give away today. This is gonna be so dope. To the best answer to today's question. This used but in great condition, full Norse Foundry glass cannon, clear quartz dice set. You see that glass cannon, John, right there. You see that glass cannon logo on the D6. I got this a couple years ago. This is not one of our like campaign set dice, and it doesn't have our unique cases. It just has the glass cannon case on it. But it's from a long while back, and I found it, and I was like, I don't really need this. I could share this with the Naish. So I'd love to send this out to somebody who wins the contest question today. So inspired by Vegas, our trip to Vegas, returning from Vegas, we're going to ask a very generic question today, and I want to see the most interesting answer we get. The question that we're going to ask today is, who took a gamble? Who took a gamble? And this can be anyone, anything, it could be fiction, it can be real life, it could be history, it could be anything. Who took a gamble? If I just give you that general question, Jared, what comes to mind for you? What's an answer?
So we're talking fictional or historical, right?
Anything.
Could be
or
either.
Modern day, real people. Who took a gamble?
And as you
could
always
have won,
say,
you could have lost, doesn't matter.
As you always say, the best answer is one everybody knows but nobody thought of. Everybody knows who it is, but nobody thought of it. My answer isn't great, but it is at least from one of my favorite media. So I would go with Norval Barnes, who is that's Robbins, Tim Robbins in the Hudsucker Proxy. Do you remember that film?
Yeah.
And he just holds up a piece of paper with a circle on it and goes, for the kids. And that's the invention of the hula hoop, and it's a giant success.
Yes.
But like just taking a gamble on, look, there's a circle.
Drawing a circle and saying,
that's
for
the
kids.
That's the funniest gamble I can think of. It's a business gamble. So
that's a good one.
Yeah, that's what I thought of. Is Tim? It's Tim Robbins, right?
Yeah. Tim Robbins,
Tim
that
Robbins.
is right. I loved that movie. I haven't seen it many, many years, but I watched it multiple times when I was like, I don't know, in high school or middle school. I love that one. So I'm going to go with an organization. I'm going to go with an organization, and I'm going to say, and this goes back to my favorite series of films of all time, the Lord of the Rings series. I'm going to say New Line Cinema in backing a 3-film shoot with a basically unknown director shooting completely overseas before anything was released yet, putting whatever 200 plus I don't know how much was put into that $200+ million into that movie. I don't know anything about the background, but I know that to make that movie was definitely a gamble. And then obviously
filming it all at once too. They filmed it all at once.
Filmed it all at once without seeing what the success. The original. I think I remember the original idea was we'll make a Hobbit movie, and this wasn't even New Line. It was somewhere else. We'll make a Hobbit movie. We'll see how that does, and if that does really well, we'll make a 2-part Lord of the Rings movie. Anyway, it just evolves over time, and
they tried to take it away from him too, right? Or they got really nervous during Helm's Deep. The executives, they were
they got really nervous, and more money had to keep getting pushed into it. And I remember there were articles that were like, if this doesn't hit, if the first movie doesn't hit, New Line is going to go out of business. It will kill that studio. So yeah, that was a big gamble. All right,
that's a big gamble.
Let's bring in a caller here. You know who was in Vegas, Jared? Our friend Fisco. Our friend Fisco was in Vegas, and she's here today.
What's up,
hanging
Fisco?
out. Fisco, join us if you'd like to chat, or perhaps you've stepped away from.
Hello.
Oh, there she is. What's up, Fisco?
Oh man, what a weekend!
What a weekend! I'm still basically sick. I can't. My voice is fried.
If you weren't there, you missed the time of your life.
He's such a penis.
Yeah, everyone sucks.
So Fisco, what were your takeaways from Vegas?
It definitely was a lot of what you guys were saying, where I went in with, I go into games a little bit like you did, Joe, but this time I decided not to learn any rules, which I didn't like. And not learn anything about my character and just kind of trust that everyone there, is going to be great and that I will be fine. And your game was the hardest because it was the first one of the night. You ran Delta Green and we were all soldiers, which is not a thing I'm super into, but I really want to play Delta Green, so I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't roll well until near the very end of the game. And I remember at some point you looked at me and you were like, what's going on in your character's head? And like, that's all I had been thinking about was, why does he suck so much? And it brought so much character to this guy. And it was nice because I could trust that everyone else at the table who was really into it were taking the story while I was trying to figure out what was going on with him.
Yeah. And you
that
let
was
the die rolls sort of inform you. So you didn't have to do the work ahead of time. It came to you while you played. Yeah.
It was, the whole weekend was so freeing. And I know is going to make me a much better role player, because getting to role play with a bunch of people who genuinely care, who are really into it, who would do anything to play, helps just make the environment so relaxed. And it didn't matter if I knew anybody else at the table. We had an absolute blast. It was amazing. So the Naish itself was amazing.
Yeah. The Naish turnout was incredible. And obviously there were a lot of fan run games that were just Naish run games that were just awesome and people were raving about. And that's so great. What Fisco, who took a gamble? You got an answer for this?
Oh my God, I don't have an answer for that. I don't know. That's a hard question.
You shall not win the dice.
I know, I'm not going to win the dice. But I think to me it's more of a type of person. So like a person who leaves where they grew up, leaves all of their safety to try something completely different. Like just that kind of person to me, when you let go of everything and trust that you have what's in you to make the next steps work.
And you can't think of an example of that? Anyone who actually
No. I want that to be the answer. Write all of that down, Joe. When you leave the lands you know,
people that do it,
and you walk off into a new world.
Perfect. Exactly, Jared.
And you learn that emotions are truly within.
That's it. That's the one.
I want that to be one of the answers we pick from at the end. And let me tell you, right now, it's leading.
Leader in the clubhouse right now, that's for sure. All right. Thanks, Fisco.
The only answer.
Thank you, Fisco. Later. That's awesome.
I mean, McD has an awesome answer, but maybe we won't share it right now because maybe someone else could take it. Or should we say McD's answer?
No, McD can just say McD's answer. He's on here. If you want to jump in, McD, say your answer.
Oh, yeah.
Well, no, that was basically Fisco's answer.
Oh, yes.
She was describing Frodo. Fisco was describing Frodo.
Yes. That's a great answer.
If I may, she was describing an entire type of person, McD, of which Frodo is a subset.
That's true.
Yes. So anybody who answers anything like that will be like, sorry, taken.
You know what? Can I change my answer to the human race? The human race has taken gambles at several different junctures throughout history.
Yes, it has.
Yes.
Let's take a call. Joseph Joestar. I like your name, Joseph Joestar. That's a good one. What's going on?
So I was sorry, I'm forgetting the question. I forgot what happened. So something about I know the question you were asking, but I'm sorry. Can you repeat what the rest of it was? I wasn't expecting to be called.
You want to know what the contest question is, Joe?
No, I do know the contest question. It was
No,
Oh,
we're
you just
just-
want to know what we're talking about?
We were just talking about Vegas and the games we were playing. We talked about
Homebrew,
Space Base and
board
and Star Wars
games.
Ultimate. Yeah.
Yeah. Have
Okay,
you been have you been listening to the episode so
Yes.
far? Okay.
Yes, I have. I just
All
was
right.
walking my dog. Sorry.
blank.
Okay.
But yeah,
no problem.
I didn't get to go to Vegas, unfortunately, but
You missed out.
I was actually, I know. But something I actually reminded me was Joe, since you started playing Star Wars Unlimited, I wanted to recommend, especially for your family, like your kids, Disney Lorcana. It's by the same people. It's kind of similar in the fact that like you can just use almost any card as a resource to Star Wars Unlimited, but it's like just Disney characters. So like,
Can I ask you
it's
this?
not something.
Is there an O'Malley the Alley Cat from the Aristocats card?
I believe there is actually there's
I
so many
can't
cards in
imagine.
basically every
I'm in.
I can't
Disney.
imagine there's a single thing in all of Disney film history that isn't in that game. Like they must
Yeah.
make cards for every single thing. And I am familiar with
Oh, yeah.
Lorcana. I actually played Lorcana first, and when I was first taught Star Wars Unlimited, especially the resource usage, I was like, "Oh, this is like from Lorcana." And
Right.
so I was very familiar with it, and I have played it with my kids. But yeah, Star Wars is a little bit more up my alley than the Disney whatever.
I played Lorcana and I got killed by Sebastian from Little Mermaid.
Yeah,
He killed me.
He can be rude.
Yeah, he's a hell of a
Yeah.
leader. Joseph, give us a.
He
give us an
destroyed
answer
my
here.
Brother Bear deck.
Oh yeah. So for my answer for who took a gamble,
Who
honestly,
took-
I got to go with Han Solo. He,
Han Solo.
He knew the odds, and he ignored them.
Yes,
Just-
yes.
Somehow survived. Like they would all be dead if it weren't for him taking that gamble.
That's true. Good answer. Thank
He's
you,
my
Joseph. That was awesome. Han Solo definitely took a gamble. Never tell me the odds. Flying directly into an asteroid field. Let's do one more before we move on. We'll have plenty of time.
But if you think
to
about
talk
it,
to lots more
Fisco's
people, but-
answer sort of encompasses Han Solo.
All right. Okay. Let's. That joke is gonna wear thin fast because it's gonna be.
It already has with
Fisco's-
you.
Yeah, Fisco's answer was literally everyone that ever took a gamble was her answer, and that's a hard thing to top. Bloody Eagle, if you want to join in the convo, we'd love to have you in for a second. You want to talk about games, the games we were talking about? No. Just raise your hand and then leave, I guess. All right, let's go to Ultimate Frisbee. Ultimate.
What's up, Ultimate Frisbee?
What's up, Ultimate? How you doing?
Hey guys, how are you?
Good.
Great,
Good to
how are
hear from
you?
you again.
I had a great time hanging out in Vegas.
Awesome. So
Nice.
happy to hear. What'd you play? What'd you love? What game stood out?
So I can tell you one story about playing Massive Laser, playtesting with Brian Holland.
Oh
Yes,
yeah, he's
I
working
wanted
on
to
his
do
own
that.
game, Massive Laser. Yes, that's right.
So much fun. Think sci-fi dungeon crawler for loot goblins.
Sci-fi dungeon crawler for loot goblins. Is it like Destiny, the role-playing game?
I don't know. So it's a D100 system. Roll under. You get XP, and you can spend your XP to increase, like basically gain random skills or gain random items off of tables.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And
So
that
would you
was
say
pretty
it's
cool,
kind
and
of
you can-
OSR? It's kind of old school?
It is, yeah. It's very OSR. And so based on, obviously what level of creatures you're fighting, how many creatures you fought, you get to roll a certain number of times on tables to either gain skills or to gain
yeah,
items.
I heard this. I heard this from somebody during the weekend. They said so. Basically, it's also almost like a roguelike, right? Where you're leveling up at a really fast rate and collecting all of this
Every combat.
gear. Yeah, every combat you're leveling up,
Cool.
you're getting more and more powerful, and then the next session you would just start at 0 again.
Right. It's really fun.
That's
Can
interesting.
Let me
I tell
ask
you
this. You're fighting alien
Sure.
monsters, is that right?
Yes.
Are there any like sexy green alien ladies in the game?
That's up to Brian.
Or
you
the
know
GM?
how he's into that. So you see
Yeah.
so many of them in Cthulhu.
In my
or
games you
Kendra.
do. Yeah.
Can I tell you guys a quick tragic story about the day after the retreat?
Sure, make it quick.
Yeah.
My wife bought me a day pass, like a day trip to go see the Grand Canyon.
Oh my God, you and your wife are getting divorced?
Yes, we are. It's tragic.
Jesus.
No, it was 110 degrees that day, and we got an hour from the Grand Canyon, and the radiator blew on the van.
Oh no.
And so we were stranded in the desert for several hours on the side of I-40, waiting for someone to come pick us up.
Wait, was it your van or did you rent a van?
Nope, it was a tour company. And the tour company had no contingency plan, excuse me, for getting us off the side of the highway.
Wow.
And of course, it was Sunday at 4:30 p.m. And so the taxi companies were closed, and not a single Uber or Lyft would respond to our dropped pins to come take us off the highway.
Oh my goodness. The
van had no repair kit. No
That's fucking
signal
bullshit.
flares, no antifreeze.
So how did you get out of there?
I called Highway Patrol.
Wow.
Because basically, like there was like 11 adults in this car. All of them are twice my age. I'm 36, so the frame of reference for you. And they're all like trying to either repair the radiator with hair ties and plastic, not knowing that a radiator is a pressurized system and it has two distinct holes, one of which can't be patched. And so
I didn't know that either. I didn't know about the two distinct holes.
Two distinct holes, correct. That's what you need in any sort of good system, right? So they try to patch the system. They fill the radiator with water. We get a mile down the road, and the lights flashing on again. And so finally, I'm being yelled at because I'm suggesting things, but I'm too young to know what I'm doing. And so eventually, I had enough. I just called 911. I'm like, can you send Highway Patrol over? We need a tow to the nearest town. No one else is coming to pick us up.
Wow. Oh, brutal.
That blows.
So we spent 4 hours at the McDonald's in Williams, Arizona.
Well, at least you got to have McDonald's. What'd you order?
Right, of course, it was wonderful. I really enjoyed my lunch there, watching the sunset away from where I was supposed to be.
Yeah, far away from the Grand Canyon.
So double quarter pounder with cheese, or are you a Big Mac man?
I usually go with the quarter pounder and some nuggets.
Nice.
That's a great choice.
McDermott in Discord chat says that's why you have to take the helicopter service to the Grand Canyon. So, I mean, it would have been much easier. I don't know why he didn't just.
Yeah.
Right.
In fact, the Glass Cannon Vegas retreat offered a helicopter
to Grand Canyon day trip. Yeah, you could do that.
For an extra fee, of course.
For an extra modest fee.
Yeah.
Ultimate, sorry about that.
Play
story.
Deadlands in the Grand Canyon was our pitch.
Can I give you one final kicking detail?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you've given us 5 already. Okay, one more.
One more. The van we showed up in was hot at the beginning of the day. And I'm like, I know we said the AC is not working. Can we just change vans? And they're like, no, it's going to take too much time. And so the van that comes to pick us up at the very end is a brand new, like, touch screen van with perfectly working air conditioning
that they had at the jump. And oh
man,
What was it? What company was it?
Grand Adventures.
Okay, so if you're a member of the Naish, I want you right now to find out the addresses of the people that work at Grand Adventures and post them on the internet for us to attack their homes.
Jeepers. Oh, man. It is. Did you get your money back, for God's sake?
The refund will be processed in 5 to 7 days. But the owner has a penchant or a history of attacking people who give him negative reviews online.
Wow.
Well, get ready for the Naish, buddy.
Yeah, the Naish is coming in force. All right, Ultimate,
we're smearing cat blood on his doorstep.
Who took a gamble?
Senator Brutus of the Roman Senate.
Senator Brutus.
That is a good answer.
Senate. Great answer.
That's a great answer. An answer everybody knows, but nobody thought of, and it was a gigantic gamble that did not pay off. That
did
ultimately.
Not pay off ultimately.
All right. Now we should bring.
If you're holding your hand up, hang in there. We're going to be talking. We're going to be talking to people all day. Don't worry. But we got to keep it moving here. Let's talk about our next topic of the day.
Yes. Alien Earth. So, my favorite thing about this is how streaming services now, the trailer has just dropped for a new television series based on the Alien franchise, and you can see it on FX, on Hulu, on Disney.
Yeah.
Because the thing kept saying Hulu on Disney, and I'm like, what? And then it also kept saying FX. Anyway, it's all of those things. This show is from Noah Hawley, who you might know his work in television from the show Legion, which I really loved, and Fargo, which I have seen every season of. I'm obsessed with. So I really like this guy's track record. It stars a young woman named Sydney Chandler, who the only credit of hers I recognized was Don't Worry, Darling, a film that I saw and did not think was very good, but I also don't think she was a huge role in it. This show also has Timothy Olyphant.
I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah, and he looks really cool.
I love Timothy Olyphant. He's awesome.
He's another, I want to say replicant, but a synthetic. He is a synthetic as is Sydney Chandler's character. Although in a new way I don't think we've seen before in Alien. She is a consciousness that has been transferred to a synthetic. Mm-hmm. And if you watch the trailer, it looks like the plot of the show is that a ship holding alien life forms, including definitely the xenomorph, but with, it says 5 life forms in the trailer, crash lands on Earth, and the creatures get out. And a team of synthetics, led by Timothy Olyphant and Sydney Chandler, have to track down and capture or destroy these alien life forms which have gotten loose on Earth. And that's a really great premise. The trailer looks incredible. Joe, what are your first thoughts?
I don't have much to add. I think that you have summed it up pretty well. I don't have... when I saw the trailer, my first... It's funny, for me, Alien, as a franchise, we'll get into this in a second, is I'm a little more... I like more than I don't like, compared to like what we talked about with Star Wars a few weeks ago. What's the problem? How come it's so hard to make great stuff out of this? And there's a lot of nuance there with like, well, how old were you when you first saw it? How old do it's right. Who is it really for? Whatever. Alien is pretty clearly horror, and it's pretty clearly and action, and it's
clearly
for adults. And so maybe that's a reason why. But I've liked more than I haven't liked in the Alien franchise. And so when they said that they were doing something, yes, a little bit of my cynic is like, well, what's this going to be? And then when I saw the trailer, I saw that before I knew anybody attached to it, and I was just like, this looks awesome. So I think the story concept is extremely cool. I think it's like, how do we not think of these things? It drives me crazy. I'm like, how do I not think about a whole, legion, for lack of a better term, of synthetics being sent to fight aliens? It makes so much sense.
And it's a cool premise.
Yeah, a very cool premise. And then, yes, I mean, obviously, trailers are easy to make something look good, but I love the way the trailers cut. I feel like it really feeds into the horror aspect. The music of the trailer, the sound effects of the trailer are very horror-esque, and yeah, and it looks like it's sprawling. You know what I mean? It looks like
fully
there's things,
cinematic.
It looks like there's things in ships. It looks like there's things in forests, in mountains, in water, and like it looks like it's all in all different sort of set pieces, which seems cool. And my favorite part, it's only 2 months out. Less than 2 months out.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're talking about a trailer here that we just teased for a film next year or a TV show that's starting late next year. This is coming out August 12th. And yeah, you could watch it on FX. You could watch it on Hulu. The Disney thing, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's just international. So like international people can watch it on Disney Plus. But I think if you're in America, you're pretty much just doing FX or Hulu. Yeah. So I'm pumped. I'm gonna if I have to. I don't know if I don't have FX. I don't pay for Hulu. I do have Disney because I got the kids and stuff. I will get a subscription to watch this show. I'm psyched. I'm psyched for it.
Ashelon on Twitch chat is asking, do we know what the timeline is for this show? And I think I saw a video where they say it's like after Prometheus and Covenant. But I don't know that it's after Aliens. Look, who cares, Ashelon? Really? I mean, we can.
It's just curious. I'm curious too. I believe I mean, it must be. I think it has to be after everything. I think
it should be after everything, right?
It's got to be after Romulus, right? I mean, Romulus...
I don't want any more prequels to anything, please. Like, don't show me this is how Ripley is born. I don't want that.
Yeah. And I think that, like, it's cool to be able to refer back to the things in the films, and with it being Earth, I think that that's a hugely important thing. Like, because you're talking about the events of Alien, right, take place in the Outer Rim or whatever you would call it. I don't remember what it's called. The Frontier.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point, I think, right, is this horror coming home to Earth. Like, if this happened before the events of any Alien movie, it wouldn't make any sense, I feel like. So
I would also approve of them just never mentioning anything from any other Alien movie and just presenting this, and we don't know exactly when it's happening or whatever. It's just like kind of let things stand on their own. I did like that Romulus sort of stood on its own as its own encounter or whatever. I have problems with Romulus. We'll get into it, maybe. But here's the thing. So I'm excited about this. It looks good. But, Joe, we've been really burned on franchise TV before.
Mm-hmm.
We've been burned on the Rings of Power. We've been burned on the Wheel of Time. Dune Prophecy was not good. The Magicians adaptation by Sci-Fi is bad. And we've already talked about this, but people can argue The Expanse is not all it's cracked up to be. So we know that it's really hard to bring a franchise to TV. Can you think of one franchise? Well, Fargo. I guess Fargo. By this guy, Noah Hawley, has sort of worked on television.
I'm going to be bad at thinking of it for sure. I'm sure somebody's going to write in chat, and I'm going to
maybe
agree
someone in
with
chat
something.
can tell us something
Let us know
else.
What was a film or novel and was adapted to television in some way.
Oh, someone says they like Foundation. They like Foundation on Apple. I haven't watched that. You know, I started to watch it, and I'm such a fan of the books. It was such a divergence that I was having a little trouble getting my knowledge of the book out of my head and just enjoying the show. But I still plan to watch that show. So people like, and then there's people I think defending The Expanse right now. That's people are split on that. I mean,
people are split on that.
I still watch. I watched all of the Wheel of Time. I've watched all of the Rings of Power. I watch it. I just know it's not very good while I'm watching it.
I got a good one.
Yeah, McD, please.
In the Heat of the Night.
Yeah, man.
Totally.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about In the Heat of the Night.
Carol O'Connor.
Carol O'Connor, amazing. All right, so somebody posted in Twitch chat that the AI answer is telling them that the Alien Earth series supposedly takes place 2 years before the events of the original Alien film. And,
I don't love that. I don't love that.
But then somebody said, and this makes a lot more sense than what I was saying. They say, Sixth Scribe says, logically, I thought that Weyland Yutani was trying to get aliens back to Earth throughout the whole series. So it would make a lot more sense if they knew about it beforehand, and so maybe this is how they found out about it. So that is an interesting idea. Yes, Aaron the Shark and Samu Ryan. Well done. Shogun. Shogun was awesome. Awesome. So that's a good answer.
The original miniseries or the new show?
I never watched the original miniseries. My dad said it was really good. The original miniseries.
It's awesome.
I love the novel. Read it multiple times, and then the new TV series was awesm. The new TV series adaptation. Last
but are we
of Us
really talking
was
about?
Very good.
Are we really talking about a franchise when we talk about, Shogun, for example? We're talking about a book. Are we really talking about a franchise when we talk about even The Last of Us, which is like 2 games? I mean, maybe you are. I'm just saying when you bring something really huge like Star Wars, it can be really difficult. When you bring something really huge like, well, I don't know. I mean, the Wheel of Time, I guess, is just one series of books. So
we've talked about how good Andor is. Speaking of which, do you want to talk about Andor next week or what? We got to talk about. We got to do a season 2 wrap up. I
still
of Andor.
have like 6 episodes, but
all right. So we'll give a couple weeks, but we'll let you guys know when we're going to do it, like at least a week in advance, so you can binge whatever you need to binge to wrap it up. But Yeah. Anyway, it is difficult. I'm a little concerned, but man, you got to feel like you're in good hands, right? Fargo, Legion.
Yeah, you're in good hands. You know, the other thing that concerns me, 5 alien species. They say that in the show, and they show you that these aliens that other than the xenomorph are in the show. And I'm like, is that too much?
You didn't need that.
Maybe I just want some xenomorph.
You didn't need that. You know, and that's
the xenomorph is enough. You are enough, xenomorph.
Do I sit down to like watch an alien movie or an alien TV show and think to myself, I've had enough xenomorph. Like, I don't need any more. Like, no,
Joe,
that has not occurred to me yet. So,
one time a friend of mine ran the Alien RPG, and his scenario had no xenomorph in it. And I was a little bit like, dude.
I came for the
xenomorph.
I would totally do that, but that's because when you read the Alien book, it does get you a little obsessed with how good the world building is. And you're like, there's so much here besides the xenomorph. I have to share this with players. But then, players, the correct reaction is, where's the fucking xenomorph?
Where's the xenomorph?
It is tricky. What else? All right.
Final thing about Earth is if you've ever read the old Dark Horse Alien comics, it looks like Alien Earth is going to be partially based on an old comic series from Dark Horse called Alien Outbreak, which is in fact about aliens, the xenomorphs showing up on Earth. And there actually are very specific things in the trailer, specifically a child's drawing of the xenomorph that connects to things that are in Alien Outbreak. So I really highly recommend so many of the Alien comics that came out in the 90s, and even Marvel very recently, after Disney and Marvel got the Alien IP, put out some incredible Alien comics by Philip Kennedy Johnson. In 2021, there was an Alien series by Philip Kennedy Johnson, who's an incredible comic book writer. So I would check out the Alien comics if you have a chance to, if you're a comic book person.
I should do that. Let's take a call real quick before we talk about the franchise more in general. Sarah Beast is looking to join us and chat on the show.
What's up, Sarah?
Hop on, Sarah, when you get a second. And in the meantime, I guess, there she is. What's up, Sarah? Oh,
hey, no. I'm sorry. I'm at the airport about to fly home from Vegas.
Oh my God, you're still in Vegas?
Yeah, we couldn't pass up the opportunity to be tourists here for a little while.
Amazing. You're truly a beast, Sarah. That's awesome.
I didn't know if you were still accepting gamble answers.
Absolutely. Get yourself in here. Yeah.
I feel like this is like a teacher's pet answer. But when you guys actually quit your day job to do Glass Cannon full time, that was a huge gamble, but it made such a difference to the network.
Yeah, that is the panderiest of pandering answers, but it is a great one nonetheless. Sarah Beast. Thank you. You got anything else you want to weigh in on before we let you go and get on your flight?
There is no Alien they will make that I will not watch. It is everything they've done. I have enjoyed so much.
Awesome.
And then Vegas was amazing. All the games I played in were phenomenal. And I walked into a lot of them not being too great on the rules, and the niche, the role playing, the way the DMs managed us, it was phenomenal.
Awesome. I am so happy you enjoyed it. And yeah, it was great playing with you. Have a safe flight.
Great
have a safe flight home. Take it easy.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, the GCN guys quitting the old day jobs. I mean, I'll tell you, my wife, she was like, "Really? You sure about this?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I've run the numbers. I'm pretty sure we can do this." And it worked out. So that was nice.
Yeah.
All right.
My wife and I had a huge fight for days. I was sleeping on the couch. She was like, "You think you're going to make a living doing that? Get a real job." And then for 9 days, I worked for Uber Eats. And then she said, "Okay, you're really sad and you're just sleeping out in your car. You can come in and work for the Glass Cannon Network."
Very nice of her.
We had incredible makeup sex.
Oh, wow. Thanks for telling us that.
I'm talking 3-4 times in one night.
Let's go to the phones. Squid. I'd rather hear you talk about literally anything than what Jared is talking about. Do you have anything on Vegas? Anything on Alien Earth? What are you thinking, Squid? Squid, you got to unmute your microphone.
There I am.
Hey, what's up, Squid?
I came in to talk about Jared's sex life. I'm so disappointed. Okay.
Let's talk about it.
No, let's not. So yeah, I had a fantastic time in Vegas. A lot of what's already been covered, but I do have an answer to franchise that was adapted from movie to TV show, and it ties into Vegas because it's Stargate SG-1. The perfect answer.
Stargate
SG-1.
People loved that. I never saw it.
Why does it have something to do with Vegas?
Show. Well, because Fisco and I ran a experimental multi-table dread scenario based on Stargate SG-1.
Oh, that's right. I heard
PvP,
about that. That's right.
Which went without a hitch. We could not have been happier with the way that went, and had a terrific time with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but Stargate, they made 3 series out of that movie that it's only loosely connected to, honestly. And I honestly think that the series is better than the movie in a lot of ways. So, yeah, I think
that's cool.
That's a great answer there.
Good answer, Squid. All right, give us who took a gamble. Get in on this contest.
Let's see. I'm going to go with a guy who started a political campaign hoping to spin off a media empire and wound up the most powerful, corrupt person in the world. So
Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Donald Trump.
Squid, are you going with Donald Trump and the rise of global fascism?
I am going with Donald Trump and the rise of global fascism.
Yeah, he took a big gamble on democracy.
And,
yes,
and we all lost.
Risked democracy.
He risked our basic freedoms.
And what else did he just say that I was thinking of? Oh, so Stargate. So I rewatched Stargate recently, like within the last 6 months for the first time in more than a decade, maybe more than 15 years. And I loved Stargate. I watched it over and over and over. And I still like it. It holds up. But in rewatching and being more nitpicky about it, it is really hilarious, especially when you think about role-playing games and like the way we tell stories. Watch it again and see how hilariously ridiculous it is in how quickly things develop. Like the movie's like an hour and 42 minutes long, I think, or something like that. And like from the moment he walks in the door as the expert to try to begin decoding hieroglyphs to the moment like the Joint Chiefs are in the room and they're turning it on and they're all walking through is in the fiction like 6 hours or something. Like it's hilarious. It is hilarious. But they kept it moving, man. They made a hot popcorn movie
I think that's just good advice for role-playing games.
I don't think it's bad advice at all, but it is really funny when you think about like, wait, how all these guys were waiting in this room for him to have this answer?
Well, movies today sometimes I think feel very dilated compared to movies from the 90s, you know?
Yeah.
But I do remember, I swear to God, I remember in the 90s feeling like, wait, like you didn't know that it was edits or that they had cut things out, but I constantly felt like stories were getting squished in like the 90s and early 2000s. So I don't know. It's hard to find that balance of like just the right amount of length.
What are your initial
movies do it?
What are your initial thoughts on? You and I have never talked about this. I know you ran an Alien game at Gen Con one year in our booth. I've obviously run a decent amount of Alien, and I've never played in it, I don't think. What are your? We've never talked about this, you and I. What are your thoughts on the Alien franchise? Like, what are you? Where do you place that in
the Alien franchise. Truly love. I last year watched all of them. I watched
in 1 year
from the beginning to the end. I watched all of them.
Sorry, because what's the beginning? Release order or chronological order? Okay,
Alien.
Release order.
Yeah. Release order. Yeah, and that was all to get ready for Romulus. You know, I was very excited about Romulus. So my vibe on it is, all right, I'm about to go into my take on the entire franchise.
Please go.
Alien 1979, the original, is a all-time classic. Aliens from the 80s is a all-time classic action movie. Absolutely. Then the drop-off is remarkably steep. I think that the drop-off is huge after Aliens. Alien 3 is my least favorite. I think it betrays the characters, and the whole Nine Inch Nails of it is very tedious and dour, and it takes the fun out of Alien. It's just a nasty movie. Alien Resurrection. I almost said Insurrection, but we're not talking about Star Trek.
Star Trek.
Alien Resurrection. That's the one that was written by Joss Whedon and directed by the French guy who directed City of Lost Children. I like that one because it's just kind of gonzo. It's like really out there. It takes place way farther in the future, and the designs are all really wooky and wild, and it has a swimming xenomorph, which I think looks cool in the film. So then there's Prometheus.
I feel like each one of these installments should add something new and interesting about the xenomorph. And it doesn't have to be necessarily scientific or biological, but just a scene or a fight or it doing something it's never done before. And I remember in Resurrection, the swimming aliens being like, this is dope. That was cool. Yeah.
Resurrection also has, Ripley is a clone with alien DNA in her, xenomorph DNA inside of her. And then it ends with a monster that is a kind of like her offspring, which is kind of like a half xenomorph, half person, a were xenomorph, if you will. I don't really love that creature, and I'll get back to it in a second. Prometheus, I love Prometheus. It's a very flawed movie. It's not a good movie, but I love the aesthetic of it. I love how it looks. I love those giant astronauts, seeing them walk around. I love the C-section sequence where she's got to get the robot to cut it out of her. I think that's incredible. But ultimately, it doesn't make a lot of sense, and I don't need to know where the xenomorphs come from, guys. I don't really want backstory on that. I don't need to know the secret. Even though I loved seeing the big astronauts walk around, I kind of would have preferred them to stay as a corpse in a chair in the first movie. Leave it mysterious. And then finally, Covenant, the less said, the better. It's terrible. It's got a good setup with the colonists and Danny McBride and Billy Crudup. I'm very into when it starts, but then I think it's just the worst Alien movie after Alien 3. And then Romulus. So Romulus is a movie that had a lot of potential, but I actually think that Ian Holm deepfake that they do ruins the movie.
It's so funny you say that. It's so
How do
funny
you feel?
Say that. I feel, I guess, the same way, but
it's so badly done. It looks bad.
I don't really have a heart.
It's a giant part of the movie.
They
keep bringing it back over and over.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Relax. Calm down.
I'm not mad.
I try at times. I can be a little bit nitpicky like that, and I know that that's not a nitpick, but I can let things that shouldn't ruin movies for me. Like things that will just, I can't get out of my mind. I didn't let it ruin it for me, the movie, but it was objectively horribly done, terribly executed, and I think mainly never should have been attempted. There's truly,
I agree. Quit deep faking these actors.
Reason. There's no
Stop doing
reason.
It. You could have had a new actor who is a different synthetic, and you could have gotten a great actor, done a great cameo. We do not need everything to tie into the earlier things. There's already a xenomorph. We fucking get it. None of us were going to watch it and go, but wait, how was it connected to Alien? No one gives a shit. No. Just show us an Alien movie. Having this synthetic there who's giving some exposition and it torn apart, great, no problem. It was the Ian Holm deepfake. It's so badly done, and it's such a huge part of the movie.
Yeah.
And I also have a huge problem with, I really liked the synthetic played by oh god, I can't remember the actor's
the main
name.
guy, like the main synthetic.
The main synthetic.
Character, yeah.
But then he says,
Andy,
"Get away!"
Andy, I think is the character's name.
Andy, right? But then he says, "Get away from her, you bitch," echoing the Ripley line from Aliens, and I'm like,
you hate that stuff.
I'm like,
you definitely hate that stuff.
ugh, like just like write a new fucking line, like you know, this stuff where everything needs to tie back. It's lazy, you know. Write a new line, write a new awesome line,
write a new oh god. The synthetic thing drives me nuts. Now, it didn't ruin the movie for me, but it drives me nuts because I just feel like I see an unbelievable waste of resources. Like whatever was spent to do that is an enormous waste. And then I see like, the added idea of introducing a new synthetic, like a new model or something, is extremely cool. Everything's cool about that. And like, just having an actor, like a good actor, do that part would have been awesome.
Right. Yes.
And you would not have, and this is the crazy thing, it's like you wouldn't be answering, I feel, to legions of lunatics, the people that go online and bitch about everything. I don't think anybody would be bitching like, why didn't you deep fake this model? Because that's what every one of them looks like. And if you didn't deep fake it, that was the wrong choice. Like, I don't think you would have heard that from anybody, especially if it was a good actor and you just did it without explaining it. Like,
it's for sure an executive. That's not like a writer's decision.
Yeah.
It's like someone who's like, wait, we should tie it into original Alien because people like that. But that's like a dumb take. That's a dumb take. You're absolutely right. A new actor, a new model of synthetic, whatever you want to call it,
so much
would
more
have been
interesting.
so much more interesting.
The whole in the very beginning, that there's like a probe that's going out, and it's like shining its light on a wreckage of a ship, and you just see for a moment a part of the ship turns and catches the sunlight nearby, and it just says Nostromo as it's just like floating. You're like, cool. And like, that's all you needed. That's good enough. Like, there's a little homage. You didn't have to, deep fakey and make everybody wince through those scenes and just kind of like look away. It's so weird.
These legacy sequels, man, they need to lighten up on the legacy. Like, we get it. It's Alien. We get it.
Yeah.
So that said, I enjoyed watching it, and like someone earlier said, if it's Alien, I'll watch it. I really enjoy it.
You know what I really liked about Romulus that stuck with me that I remember, and I remember what I like more than the Ian Holm thing. I never came back to that. What I really liked was, I think I blocked the Ian Holm thing. What I really liked was the way they portrayed these sort of mining colonies and stuff of Weyland-Yutani, which is
that was fantastic.
Which is how I set my homebrew, was like in a colony like that. I set it there because the way that they portrayed, I loved that, especially when you're getting into a video game, like Skid got me into Cyberpunk. Like when you're talking about a similar sort of dark future run by corporations, right? But then you have like Night City, which is awesome in its own way because it's super slick and the whole cyberpunk fashion vibe thing is like super cool.
Yes.
This is like that dark future where everything is like dystopia. But that dystopian future where everything is like pure utilitarian, right? It's like everybody's just wearing browns and grays and just the basic clothes, and everything just says Weyland-Yutani on it because there's no
hyper capitalism.
Hyper capitalism, and you see that they're almost like, prisoners on this planet, and because of course they are. How? Like, why would you have any rights if everything's run by a corporation?
That was
really
great, and I would have loved to have seen more of that. I understand they have to get up to a ship and have an alien adventure.
Yeah,
but I really loved that. Can I say one more thing I did not like about Romulus? I really didn't like the final monster. We've already in Resurrection had a half human, half xenomorph.
Yeah.
We're doing it again, and I really hate Joe. The xenomorph can already rip you apart. Why do we need a super xenomorph? We don't need that. The xenomorph is cool. One xenomorph against like the survivor, is great. maybe 2 or 3, or even do an army like you have in Aliens. We don't need to improve on that or one up that. Just make an exciting sequence around the xenomorph. We don't need a half human, half xenomorph super monster.
Yeah.
It's silly.
I agree.
Yeah.
But let's see what you guys think. What do you guys think? You weigh in here on Alien, get in on the contest, talk about Vegas, talk about games we talked about so far. There's lots on the table. Verdukai is here. Verdukai, what do you want to weigh in on?
Hey, Verdukai.
Lots to discuss.
Man, I knew y'all were gonna call on me now when I'm
what's the problem?
not in my element.
What's that?
I said I knew y'all were gonna call on me for Aliens, which is not my element. I just wanted to play in the contest.
No, that's fine. You don't have to say a thing about Alien.
Yeah,
you're here for the contest, and I love it. Give me an answer. Who took a gamble?
Evil Knievel.
Evil Knievel.
That's a good one.
Good one. Took many gambles. Thank you, Verdukai.
Gambles.
That's awesome. I rewatched. What did I just rewatch? Because I was going to Vegas. I rewatched. I don't know how to spell Evil Knievel. I have to look it up. I rewatched on the flight. This was so fun because it's on Netflix. It's like leaving soon. So I downloaded Ocean's 11, which I hadn't watched in 20 years, right? So I downloaded that. I was like, this will be fun to watch. So I'm watching Ocean's 11, and I forgot about the Casey Affleck, and I forget the other actor's name, the like brothers that are just like constantly at each other and annoying everybody and everything. And there's a scene where the two of them are in the van, and Matt Damon has to stay back on one of these smaller heists leading up to the big heist. And he's like, please don't leave me with them. And he's in the back of the van, and the two brothers are in the front just going at it, arguing. They're doing a game, and the game is like yes or no questions. You get 20 questions to figure out who I'm thinking of in my head. And the one brother just goes, all right, yes. He goes, are you male? And he goes, yes. He goes, are you alive? He goes, yes. And he goes, Evil Knievel. And the other guy goes, damn it. And I was like, that's
Scott Conn.
Scott Conn.
The other guy is Scott Conn.
Scott Conn. That is it. Yeah. Are you male? Yes.
I forgot those characters too. They're very funny.
Evil. They're so that was so funny. All right, let's get some more folks up here. Sweet Threat. You want to talk Alien? Do you just want to get in on the John? What are you thinking?
Hey guys, welcome
how
back
are you?
from. I'm doing good. I'm down to talk about Aliens, and I really want to also give it a quick spin on TTRPG Alien stories.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, Jared, I agree with you. Romulus is awful. It's such a terrible waste of potential. Because I just want to remind everyone of the anti-gravity alien corrupted hallway in the space station, where we go from seeing a singular alien like killing 3 of our protagonists, and then there are like 100 aliens in that hallway, and our one main character girl kills them all with a pulse rifle. It's the fact that one other minor guy just goes, if you bump out the stuck, you could put on auto targeting, and that just obliterates 100 aliens.
Yeah. They should be scarier than that, but that's why you needed a super alien.
But I think that's the struggle, because you can point out the exact like matching line of events from Alien to Alien Romulus. It's beat for beat the same movie, but it's just boring, because instead of just having one alien be terrifying for the whole film, we have equally unsuited people to be in a confrontation with an alien, obliterate 100 of them, and then we have the random child at the end.
Yeah, and you're also making me remember that the aliens gestate more quickly in Romulus because they're super alien embryos, and that's just like a cheap way to get them to burst out quicker. I don't know, man.
Yeah, you're really talking me out of Romulus. What else do you got on? What else do you got on Alien? Let's move on from Romulus. What else do you got?
Yeah. I think for TTRPG stories, the best way to play a longer form Aliens game, because I think you can play something like the Aliens RPG or Mothership in a one-shot, two-shot scenario or con game. But for a longer form Alien story, you have to play a system that doesn't have anything to do with aliens. Hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
Because the characters in an Alien film don't know they're in an Alien film.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to build that in with your players, because if people know they're in an Alien, you understand the dramatic flow of an Alien story. You know you're going to have to see a xenomorph at some point, and if you don't see a xenomorph, you're going to walk away disappointed. But if you use something like Call of Cthulhu and retrofit it into a sci-fi setting, you can have a lot of like interplay between characters in a spaceship or space station or mining colony, and have a lot of building like stress and terror in that way, and have a much longer burn before you see the xenomorph, which can easily be like as terrifying as any other mythos creature.
Yeah, it's tricky. The book itself recommends, based on the length of play, they're like, you have to be very careful with how you present the xenomorph and when, because sort of when you present it, there's nothing else to do. And
Absolutely.
And also because it's going to kill characters, or at least they're going to be driven to the point of stress of no return. And so, yeah, but it is strange among your buddies, your friends that are sitting around playing, to be like, okay, we're going to play, a long-form Alien campaign, and for them to just, you're kind of always waiting for the xenomorph, and that might take away from the other stuff.
But I think that in a long form campaign, I wouldn't mind episode sessions where you don't see a xenomorph personally. And I think some of that's on the players, not on the GM. Like, yes, we're playing Alien, but you still need to play your characters like you don't know anything about xenomorphs, like you haven't seen the movies. And I think a lot of players are great at that. They're great at like just kind of taking the situation as their character would see it and playing it that way.
Yeah, it's you have to present an interesting mystery problem for the players that is not the xenomorph to start, that is really going to engage them and get them interested before you present it. I think there's plenty in the book to work with. You just got to work with players that are willing to do that. The Sweet Threat, give me an answer here. Who took a gamble? Contest question.
What was the guy from the greatest beer run in history, where he went behind enemy lines in Vietnam to go deliver beer to his buddies?
Oh, I don't know.
Or was it?
Oh, you got to have a name, man.
God.
That sounds great, but I don't know the name.
Sorry. It was a Zac Efron movie was also made about it.
Zac Efron made a movie about it. Interesting.
Well,
I'll give you the answer. We'll come back to it. We'll see if we can.
Yeah, we'll look it up. We'll look it up.
Thanks, Sweet Threat. Speaking of Zac Efron, on my flight to Vegas, I also watched The Iron Claw after your recommendation.
What'd you think?
I loved it. It is crazy. I mean, talk about real life is stranger than fiction. Like, I was like, if you wrote this as a movie, people would be like, this is preposterous.
Right.
Wow. It was so well done. And
how about those closing credits? I want to live that way forever. That song rocks.
It does. It rocks.
Yeah,
it was
but
awesome.
I mean, it's just a beautiful movie, I thought. Very dark, very sad, but
well acted. Felt very realistic to me. The performances were very down to earth. They weren't like over the top.
Yes.
I thought Zac Efron was phenomenal. So yeah, I loved it. Roosevelt Jones wants to speak. Roosevelt Jones, why don't you join us? Roosevelt, where are you? Not there? Okay. Wait, there you are.
I'm here. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, what's up?
What's going on, Roosevelt? How are you?
Oh, I'm doing okay. Look, I just wanted to say that I think FX Distributor, we can all take solace that they produce really good television. You look at like Reservation Dogs, Shogun, for instance. You got What We Do in the Shadows, all that kind of stuff. I think they're in good hands as far as the Alien series goes.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's not forget the channel behind it too is a reliable one.
And as far as the question of the day goes, this kind of calls back. This is the first time I've ever listened on Discord, but you guys asked what the best sports movie was, and this was my answer for it as well. I think Babe is the best sports movie.
Babe.
Babe
The Pig.
Pig, best
Okay.
sports movie, but also The Farmer Took a Chance on. Tell me I'm wrong.
Okay, wait, stop. How is Babe a sports movie?
Okay, so
The sheep
Farmer-
herding competition?
Exactly, Jared. You're catching on.
Wow, that's like an answer no one would have thought of.
Yeah. He nailed your criteria there, Jared.
Yeah.
Everyone has heard of Babe, but no one would have thought of it as a sports movie.
That's right. Yeah.
And Babe's
The
Farmer.
Took a chance.
Babe's Farmer
Yeah.
took a chance on Babe. Thank you, Roosevelt. We got you.
Thank you.
Bad syntax. Why don't you join us here? What do you got on Alien or anything else we've talked about? We talked about a lot today.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Hi.
I've been a fan of Alien my whole life. You know, growing up watching them as they came out, and I've got a son now, and he's 14. Last year, I watched Alien with him, and I thought it really still held up. And then we watched Aliens, which, you know, growing up, that was my favorite one. And the first time I watched it with him, you know, I kind of was watching it through his eyes, which is one of the fun things about watching movies with your kids. And it seems pretty dated, like, surprisingly. I don't know. It's just the effects were a little off, and you could kind of see where the wires were controlling the puppets and things like that. I don't think that was the same thing with Alien, the first movie.
Well, Alien
Aliens
didn't need
seem
any
to-
effects. Alien was just in a ship.
You
with
barely
angles
see
and
the
darkness.
show you
xenomorph in all of Alien. You barely see it.
Yeah. And that was kind
I
of
know,
the
I
big
think
thing
that's
with
why it still looks
Aliens.
great.
That was kind of the big thing with Aliens, was that they showed you like in full light, like the full creature, which was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I don't. I think it holds up fully in terms of special effects for me, though.
Yeah, me too.
But I do agree with you that like there is specific scenes, like the drop ship sequence when it's just landing, not the crash, but when it's just landing or when it's taking off, it does look like it's like kind of being held by a stick off screen, and it's like a little moving unnaturally.
But I love that. That just gives something character. It's just because it's
Yeah.
old, and old stuff can look awesome. King Kong from 1931 looks awesome. Does it look like a gorilla? Not really. But it looks awesome because someone used real craft to create it. So, you know, if your son was rolling his eyes at Aliens, it's time to discipline him in a serious way and teach him who's boss.
Get out the paddle.
You're get out the paddle.
I mean,
you really got to teach these kids what's important.
One of the things, I think the spindly legs of the alien queen at the end, that was one of the things where I was like, I don't know about that.
It was kind of weird.
Do you expect a movie from 1986 to look as good as one now?
Well, not even the special effects, just the choice to have it move the way it did, I think was kind of weird.
I don't know. I just watched it. I thought the Alien Queen looked awesome. And I like that it's a big puppet instead of some CGI thing. They make these CGI things now. They never look real to me. They always look like that physics
100%.
doesn't matter to them.
Yeah. Well,
100%. I just would have raised the camera angle a little higher so we didn't see the spindly legs.
Syntax, give us a good answer here. Who took a gamble?
I'm going to go with Lloyd Christmas.
Oh,
when
yes.
from Dumb and Dumber.
Great answer.
When Mary says, your chances with me are 1 in a million. And he responds, so you're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Especially Lloyd Christmas is great. See, he left his whole life behind. He sold anything he had to return this briefcase to this girl that he met for 5 minutes across the country because he fell in love with her at first sight. God, that's a good answer. I love the Lloyd Christmas answer.
Good answer.
That's a good one. All right. Lloyd Christmas definitely took a gamble. What was I going to say based on this? Oh, yeah. So I'm rewatching Star Wars with the kids, right? And now they wanted to watch 7. And then we started to watch 8. We're almost done 8. We're kind of watching it in pieces. And, I just sit there and I'm wondering, of all our Star Wars conversation, I'm bringing it back here because of the CGI versus models discussion of space combat, right? The space combat in 7 and 8 is like, it's cool. There's a lot of really cool shit. But like, I don't think it's better. And I'm not like one of these guys that's like, I can see the flaws. Like, it's not that I can see the flaws. It's just that something about the model ship fights, it's just more, it looks more interesting to me when you don't have a million colors and a million explosions every second and a million, ships and a bunch of different
It's like I was saying about homebrew. Do less. You can do less. Like, they should pick and choose a little more instead of just like trying to inundate you and overwhelm you, because they have this CGI capability where they can do that.
GID on Discord chat says you probably shouldn't watch 7 with your kids, Joe. Capital S7, as in the movie. Good one. All right,
we should talk about railroading.
Oh shit. I forgot there's so much to talk about with Alien. There's
Yeah,
so many
that's
people
okay.
That
We still have a half hour left.
But let's get in a little railroading because you know what? Callers could weigh in on railroading too, big time. Let's go.
Oh, I think so too. So basically, coming off of like a weekend of homebrewed RPG games, and just generally because we like to talk about GMing whenever we can here on the Glass Cannon Radio, we wanted to have a little discussion today about the idea of the railroad. If you're not familiar with the term, that is when a tabletop RPG story or session has a specific plot that the players are assumed or intended to stick closely to. They're not supposed to, go back to the village and talk to the candle maker. They're supposed to go to the dungeon and fight the goblins. And there are many published adventures that are railroads. I've definitely played in many homebrew games, where the GM had prepared a railroad. And some people really, really dislike railroads because to them, a railroad, it misses the fundamental advantage that TTRPGs have over other entertainment.
Video
which,
games.
In theory, a TTRPG should have infinite choice in how you deal or navigate the story. And there are so many ways to give choice. For example, a dungeon doesn't have to be a railroad. If that dungeon has multiple passageways that the characters can take, multiple ways to navigate it, it's actually one of the easiest ways to make something no longer a railroad, because you can just make it have multifaceted, multi-levels, and different, they can navigate it in different ways. But I would say, Paizo APs, which I really love, are kind of by default railroads. They have some dungeons that are like what I just described, where you can navigate them in multiple ways. But I've seen dungeons in Paizo APs that are not navigable in multiple ways. They're really intended to be navigated one way. I've seen that a lot of APs might have a hex crawl, but even a hex crawl often has like, hey, they shouldn't go this far too early because they'll be out of their level rank in terms of encounters. So a Pathfinder AP is generally a railroad, and I enjoy those. So I don't know, Joe. Let's start with you. Like, what are your thoughts on the railroad in the RPG? What do you think?
I think when it comes to pre-written stuff, especially Paizo APs, which I have more experience with than anything else.
Yeah,
I think that any player, thinking or believing that, especially if your GM is running a pre-written adventure, that you are not on a railroad or would complain about being railroaded is stupid. I think that's kind of dumb because you know what you're signing up for at that point. Now, the tricky part is how you define the railroad, because I've always thought of it as there are multiple tracks splitting in multiple directions. The difference is that they kind of make this shape where they go out and in, out and in, out and in, right? So you have multiple paths to get to the same point, but you have to get to that point. I loved running Impossible Landscapes. I feel like that book, you open up that book, and it is the amount of depth of information for you to work with in a true sandbox in that adventure is unbelievable. And there are a couple points that, in my opinion, you must hit for the adventure to continue. Like for the story to go where it needs to go. Now, it doesn't, what I love about Impossible Landscapes is it truly does not have an end that is defined, and that's great. But the way you get to the possibility of the end, you have to pass certain gates. And so to be like, I don't want to have any sort of railroading in my pre-written adventures is, I feel like that can be honestly kind of a silly take. Because sometimes the railroad is like, these writers have dreamed up phenomenal moments. Mm-hmm. And the important difference to me is like that moment can be experienced differently by different player characters. If it has to be experienced in only one way, and there can be only one result of that experience for a character, that can be too railroady in how it's written. So yeah, I think that it is a little bit tricky, but what I tried, so I have played, I have read Delta Green scenarios, I should say, that I think are too railroady, and I did not like them. As I read them, I was like, you kind of have to hit like 6 or 7 in one scenario, exact touch points from point A to point B, point C, D, E, F, and then you're going to face the same threat in the same place every time at the end. Right. And it's just a question of survival. Those I think those I have not liked, but I think that railroading from a GM's perspective is not such a bad thing. I think that it is unreasonable to think that a human being can generate anything at any time from what you come up with for your character to do, and to not recognize. All right, so sorry, I'll take one more example from our history. Right, Giant Slayer, our massive first campaign. To me, one of the greatest, most impressive sandboxes that we played was Skirkatla's tomb. Skirkatla's camp. This is on the top of a mountain. It is a frost giant encampment where all of these different tribes of giants are gathering to launch an offensive against the world. And you are like guerrilla fighters that sneak up this mountain and then get to look at everything that's there. The key point of this is a tomb that exists inside the mountain cliff wall that you eventually have to get into, to kind of fight the big bad. But otherwise, it's just this massive encampment, and you can see everything at once, and there is no linear fashion in which you need to complete it. That was an amazing sandbox. But but you have to set all of the giants against each other in order to create enough mayhem that they break camp, they leave camp, whatever. You have to sabotage enough that they do this, and then they can get out of your way so you can get access to the main tomb where the big bad is. So, is that a railroad? Because you really have to do that for the adventure to continue. No, to me, that is not a railroad just because that is what you have to do. That's the mission.
No, that's just a clearly defined objective.
Exactly.
And,
a clearly defined objective
is a good idea.
Yeah.
Sometimes published adventures are sandboxes, and most recently with the Age of Vikings game, I just used the adventure out of the back of the book, which was really just a sandbox set at another encampment at the, Icelandic National Assembly called the Althing, which would happen every year in medieval Iceland. And all it does is give you a bunch of events that could happen. Mm-hmm. Multiple court cases that might happen, a a bunch of people that they could meet and how that might lead to an encounter where decision points are made, and so I think, a Paizo, like, they're very clever sometimes about like having like a quest that's a little bit on a track, but then you get to areas that are more, sandboxy, and that gives players more agency. But I will say, I used to be extremely anti-railroad. And I used to say, no, things need to be really open-ended when you play, because that's the one advantage TTRPGs have over video games, for example. But now, years later, I find that I really do enjoy a bit of a railroad sometimes, as a GM and as a player. I like for the GM to show me where the fun is, and I think you can do both. I think you can absolutely. Both are great. Both are great. When I play Blades in the Dark, it's completely improvised. I have a starting point, and that's it. And that can be extremely fun too. I will say, I think sometimes a railroad gives you more depth of setting because it's not trying to do everything and be everywhere at once. So the granular detail on the encounters, the things you meet, the items that are hanging around can be a little bit more filled in because it's more specific, And to get that level of detail, you give up some agency. You can't just walk away from the giant camp, go down the hill, and do something else.
Right. Yeah. So player motivations is tricky there, like player character motivations. Players, like, also don't discount how many players, whether they admit it or not, in some cases they don't know this about themselves, yearn to be railroaded.
Yes, I think absolutely there are players that prefer a railroad.
And then you'll have other players at the table that are complaining about being railroaded. It's like, but they're not realizing, like, look, 2 or 3 other people at this table are just waiting for me to tell them what to do. That is so obvious that they're just waiting. And sometimes I'll have to have talks with people. Sometimes I've had to have talks with players encouraging them to not be so railroaded, telling them, like, guys, like, I don't want to keep telling you what to do next. Like, just do whatever you want. I'll figure it out, The other thing that I'll say, I'm on your Blades point. I love the way you run Blades. You're the best in the world. But there is the reality that the game mechanics support that style.
That's right.
When you have extensive stat blocks on creatures, that does not really benefit well from pure improv sessions.
Right.
Where, like the amount of technical know-how you need to have when you're running a Pathfinder session. Can you be a little bit loose? Yeah. Can you, like pull and drop a monster in here or there, especially at lower levels? Yes. But when you're talking about mid to high level casters and stuff like that, I mean, to just grab a stat block out of nowhere and start an encounter, it's not a great idea. Like you said, you're going to you keep the sandbox wide open, but all the colors are dull, right? Nothing gets really fine-tuned.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious where people stand on this. Yeah.
A combo of the two, I think, is really the best. And we talked about how Paizo makes a combo by having areas that are sandboxy.
Yeah.
If you read
right?
Sly Flourish, the Lazy Dungeon Master, he says you start with a great opening to your adventure, then you have 3 locations, and maybe you grab a simple map for each, and then you have like 3 or 4 stat blocks of monsters that are at those locations, and then you go. And you just see where people end up, based on your starting point. And I think that's a great way to do it too, where they can tack, the locations and the stat blocks of the monsters that are at those locations are defined, but the order in which they are encountered is sort of up to the players.
Yes,
I think that matters.
And the trap that you have to not fall into, and this is something Fanless Finnerly just said in the Twitch chat. Fanless said one of the biggest problems I've seen in this scenario I've seen is a scenario that's written like a sandbox, but the author only has one viable option that shuts down most of the ideas that they themselves came up with. So like you have that cool encampment with a whole bunch of different, places that you could go or things that you can do, but this is oversimplifying and not the case in that particular situation, but there's only one key that opens only one door that everything has to be in through. So you have to get that key. It's very interesting. If you write a sandbox, try to think of 2 or 3 different ways you can get through the main door you have to go through. That feels feels like there's more agency for the players.
In another great book, The Encounter Theory Workbook by Ben Riggs, he says if there's an encounter, it should have multiple ways through, and this is right. You should be able to kill the guards, sneak past the guards, bribe the guards to get into the castle. Encounters should work that way. Sometimes in Paizo, sometimes in Pathfinder, they don't work that way. You're meant to fight these guys, you know? And that's a little bit more railroady.
Yeah.
I am interested what the callers think.
I'm interested too. Let's get a few callers in, because the last thing I'll say on that point is make sure, and this is how I run games when I run Pathfinder, what I would say is make sure that you are doling out experience for avoiding encounters.
Yeah.
Right? Like in clever situations where they did things you didn't expect them to do in order to avoid a fight that is clearly meant to be a fight in the book, don't punish the players for that and be like, well, now you're under-leveled for the next thing. Give that XP for clever ways around the story that you didn't think of. Samu Ryan wants to chime in. I'm not sure if it's on this or another topic. Samu.
Hey.
Hey, how's
it's Ryan. It's Ryan, but
hey, Ryan.
Nice to talk with you guys. Yes, I don't know if you know Matthew Colville. He had a good video like 9 years ago where he talks about sandbox versus railroad.
I do know Matthew Colville. I hadn't seen that video.
He does this great comparison saying that The Hobbit is a sandbox and Lord of the Rings is a railroad.
Interesting.
You know, there's but one option, you know, the ring has to go. So
right. But the question is, there's a million different ways you can do, like in the middle, but it always has to come back to
in
that
fact,
same
not to just contradict Matthew Colville, but in fact, the Fellowship argues over the many routes that they could take. The ring could go to Gondor. Who's gonna go? Frodo goes to Mordor with just Sam. Frodo goes to Mordor with Aragorn and the rest of the company with him. They debate and argue about these things constantly. Even at the Council of Elrond, they're like, maybe we give the ring to Tom Bombadil. So there were many ways through the quest of the Lord of the Rings. So Matthew Colville is wrong.
well, maybe right insofar as you have to throw the ring into the fires of Mount Doom to destroy the boss. Like that.
That's true. Gandalf does eventually say, look, this is it. This is
But like the conversation is what's fun for players. That's what's fun. And so you want to make sure that exists in your game. Ryan, did you have anything else? Do you have anything on Alien?
Well, Alien's great. I love Alien. Predator's better, but a movie that became
we didn't talk about is Alien versus Predator.
Yeah,
no one does.
We were talking about
better
that
forgotten.
But a movie that became a good franchise was Alien Nation.
I don't know what
Remember
that is.
Alien Nation is a film that became a television show in the 90s, Joe.
Yeah.
No.
It's an old one. Yeah. James Caan, tying it together with Scott Caan. He was the human in Alien Nation. It's a buddy cop movie, and they bring in an alien who's his partner in LAPD. It's great. Check it out.
It's pretty cool, Joe. You should check it out.
Ryan, give us a good answer here. Who took a gamble? Try to win this sweet dice set, dude.
All right. Also tying it into Shogun, Ieyasu Toranaga. That's the real life version of Tokugawa.
Yes.
The Shogun.
Toranaga. That is a great answer. Toranaga took a huge gamble by attempting to take the shogunate. Toranaga-san. Great answer. Let's get Grey Wolf up here. Grey Wolf has been waiting to chat for a while. Not sure if it's on Alien or something else. Are you there, Grey Wolf?
Hello?
Yeah, we got you. What's up, Grey Wolf?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. I just wanted to talk about Prometheus. That was actually the first Alien movie I ever saw, and I loved it.
Oh, cool. Okay. What'd you love about it?
Yeah.
Wait,
Michael
Prometheus was the
Fassbender-
first Alien movie you ever saw?
Yes, I know.
As
it's
a fan
wild.
of Prometheus, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, okay, so that was my first exposure to Weyland-Yutani, to synths. Like I was completely like taken aback by Michael Fassbender's character, and I loved him in that movie. But when he turned out to be like this agent of this faceless company, it was just like, oh my God. And he's betraying just everything about it I loved. And I don't understand why people don't like it.
Well, I mean, as someone who's a big fan of Prometheus, this team that goes into the complex where, the alien complex, they don't make a lot of good decisions. The decisions they make don't make a lot of sense. They're supposed to be these professionals, and they keep running into, like all the way down to at one point, this horrible creature is kind of emerging from an egg, and one of them like just starts poking it. Like, they make some really terrible, nonsensical decisions. And I don't really know if the whole thing holds together as a story.
Skid is in chat and he says the main issue with the movie is that everyone in it is stupid as fuck.
Yes, there it is. That's what that's the more direct way to say
But
it.
I do love the Prometheus look and vibe. I love the way that it looks and feels. I think it captures that good creeping dread. That
Now, have you since
Yes.
seen Alien and Aliens? Hello?
Grey Wolf, we're talking to you.
Grey Wolf?
Oh no.
All right, bye, Grey Wolf. Grey Wolf's boss was like, get back to work.
Get back to work. I think Grey Wolf just got fired live on air.
Yeah.
We've been waiting to see if that's going to happen.
Get fired for the Naish. Your
Grey
new
Wolf,
job
we'll
is
try to get you
finding
back
the
in.
bus company's owner and making him pay.
We'll try to get you back in for the contest. Alt Jared is back. Alt Jared.
Oh, cool. I love this guy.
You love
Hi,
Alt
Alt
Jared.
Jared.
Hello, original Jared.
Yeah, all right.
All right. Jared's like, get to the point. What do you got?
You guys have already talked about the kind of stuff around bad railroading.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give just the opposite side, which is total open world, where a GM says, all right, you have your characters. What do you want to do? And everyone around the table has zero idea
Yeah,
of
they
the
just stare at
setting
each
or
other.
what's going
Right.
on, because the GM has not prepped anything at all, including starting you're in a tavern.
Right.
But I've sat in on that game as a player, and it is probably the most painful role-playing experience I've had.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
a
you need
true
objectives.
sandbox is dangerous. It can be very dangerous for of like extreme boredom for the players, for sure.
Yeah.
That is a good point.
Yeah, when we ran the sandbox of Age of Vikings, all we did was say for each character, while you're here, you want to do this.
Yeah.
And they had like one or two things that they needed to do while they were at the assembly. And then they, of course, fell into doing other things, and their storylines crisscrossed by, improvising it. But yeah, you need some kind of an objective.
Alt Jared, give us an answer for the best answer we're looking for here on who took a gamble. Real life fiction?
Sure.
Anybody?
It pains me to say this as a Canadian, but I'm going to give you George Washington.
George Washington. Yep.
Crossing the Delaware, saying, screw Christmas, we're doing this.
Yep.
YOLO.
The attack on, was it Trenton?
Yeah.
I think it was on Trenton. Thank you, Alt Jared. That's a great answer.
Yeah,
That attack,
the United
crossing
States
the Delaware
really,
under cover of night to put an attack onto a fort.
United States is
awesome.
the greatest country in the world, the most powerful and greatest country in the world. And our leaders, were the smartest and I think the most visionary of any other country.
Sorry, just going back to the stupid characters of Prometheus real quick. I got a shout out asking Ouija in Twitch chat who said, Charlize Theron's character forgets how to run to the left.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely right. You remember this, right? Like the ship is crashing and she just keeps running in a straight line and it hits her and it's like you could have run to the left.
Just run to the left.
It's absolutely true.
Oh, that's awesome. Gray Wolf is back. Let's see did you keep your job? Can you get your answer in real quick here? Gray Wolf.
Hello.
Oh,
Yes.
he's back.
Hi, yeah. Who's someone that took a big gamble?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. Big gamble is Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk.
On the specifically when he hacks the Kobayashi Maru test.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Yep.
Good answer. I like that. Captain Kirk hacks the
I was thinking you were going to cite the episode The Corbomite Maneuver, where he bluffs to an alien ship that his ship is made of corbomite and the resulting explosion of an attack will destroy both ships.
Oh my God.
Corbomite Maneuver.
Good one. Good one. All right, let's do lightning round here. We're just going to get you in, and all you get to do is give us your answer to the question. We'll get as many people in as we can in the next 3 minutes before we got to cut to finding a winner here. So let's see. Idlex? Is that how you say your name? Idlex, are you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
We can hear you, Idlex.
You got an answer for who took a gamble?
I was racking my brain trying to come up with an answer for this one. This one is kind of obscure, so I don't know if you know it. Its character is Kaiji Ito from the Kaiji series of manga and anime. It's a gambling series.
I'm sorry, Idlex, but every time we do a contest, someone's like, okay, so this is a little obscure, but there's a manga that only I have read.
Yeah, it's always the manga that is like the thing like nobody's ever heard of. It's always a manga. Kaiji Ito is what, a gambler?
He is a gambler who owes money to the underworld, and he ends up in a series of games where he has to win these gambling games, or he ends up as a slave, or he loses his life.
Okay, yeah. You don't really
That's a huge gamble.
Thank you, Idlex. You really can't have much more on the line than that. Like, win this game of blackjack or you literally die. All hail Lord Bezos. I was reading his name as I was saying it. All hail Lord Bezos.
Whoa.
What do you got?
Kind of similar to our last guys, but maybe a little bit less.
Oh boy, here we go.
Is the Squid Game Song Ji-hoon, the main protagonist who takes a large gamble by going into a game of death in order to not be killed by the mafia.
Hey,
Awesome.
that is not similar to the last one because I've heard of Squid Game and I know who the main character is I know how he takes a gamble. So
what is his name?
That's the
It's
Song
fine.
Ji-hoon.
Don't worry about it. I'm just going to write down Squid Game protagonist. Thank you for the answer. Yeah, that is not in the same realm, considering that Squid Game is, and I could be wrong about this, but I think I'm right, that Squid Game is the most watched Netflix show in history, in the history of Netflix.
Right. So
It is
that's
a
not the
hugely
same as an
popular-
obscure anime or obscure manga. Excuse me. Song Ji-hoon is the character's name. Song Ji-hoon.
Song Ji-hoon. Oh, Jen with 2 N's put it in chat. Thank you, Jen. You're the best. All right, let's. Oh no, we're out of time. I'll do one more. Mr. Morning. Sorry for everybody who couldn't get in. Mr. Morning, what do you got?
Hello, can you hear me?
We got you.
Yes.
We got you. Give us the last answer real fast.
The Emperor's New Groove. The movie was almost not made the way as a comedy. It was originally supposed to be a really serious movie. Disney almost dropped it completely.
And they decided to make it a comedy, and so Disney.
Disney.
They fired. Disney. Just the Emperor's New Groove specifically.
Got it. Yes. Thank you. Awesome.
And you can play the Emperor in Lorcana. I was actually killed by the llama from Emperor's New Groove in a game of Lorcana recently.
Hey, smartass. Did you see the Lorcana card in Discord chat?
No, what
Jen
was
with
it?
2 N's posted the card of the alley cat. that you like the actual card. Jed is such a beast. And I mean, it's like
my Aristocats deck is going to destroy. Especially once I get that racist Japanese cat that they have to put a disclaimer on the movie about. Oh, I'm going to just kick ass with my Aristocats deck.
Oh, God, that's so good. Anyway, I can't find it. Oh, there it is. 12:33 Eastern time, so 9:33 your time. If you scroll back, you'll see
Is this in Discord chat?
Yeah, in Discord chat, Thomas O'Malley, feline charmer. He's got stats and everything.
Thomas O'Malley, feline charmer. I'm going to go ahead and say it, guys. I don't think I can play Lorcana. I'm already making fun of Star Wars Unlimited because it has cards like Lando Calrissian's cigarette case, Poe Dameron's belt buckle.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I can do Thomas O'Malley feline
Jared.
charmer.
So guys, I know that you think like you call in, you might be a little nervous. You're putting yourself out there, and then Jared is just like mean, like just mean to you.
I'm not
specifically.
mean.
I just want to make something very clear. Jared sat down next to Matthew and I when we were playing Star Wars Unlimited, and he was like, "What are you guys doing?" We're like, "Star Wars Unlimited." He's like, I want to see what this is like. And within 3 minutes, he just made fun of us for like 15 minutes while we were playing the game. And the game made fun of us and the game, and us for playing the game. Yes. So it's not, he does it to those he loves, for sure. And all right, let's pick a winner here. Again, I'm going to send out this sweet, lightly used dice set that I've used in the past. I got this gorgeous dice set from Norse Foundry with the glass cannon John on it. It is a clear quartz holographic set. This is not a Joe set. This was pre-Joe set era. This is a set that I was gifted and played with for a while, and now I'm ready to pass it on to somebody in the Naish. So, all right,
Great.
I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste our answers here in Discord chat, Jared. So if you want to look in Discord chat, hopefully
Discord
this makes
chat.
some
I'll
sense.
be ready. Let's
And
take
you
a
can
look
see it.
here.
Leading off with Fisco was the person that leaves the safety of their home or their comfort zone to take on a risky venture. That was answer number one. And then we go on from there. Lots of fun answers. Han Solo, Senator Brutus of the Roman Senate, Donald Trump, the GCN guys, Evel Knievel. Chicky Donahue, by the way, was the name of the guy that did the greatest beer run ever. They made a movie of this. A guy left America to bring his buddies in Vietnam beer. The greatest beer run ever. His name is Chicky Donahue, played by
Cheeky Donahue. Okay.
played by who we were just talking about. What? My God, his name's right on
Zac
the tip of my tongue.
Efron?
Zac Efron, yeah. We got Babes Farmer, Lloyd Christmas, Toranaga, Captain Kirk from hacking the Kobayashi, or wait, the
Kobayashi Maru.
George Washington crossing the Delaware to attack Trenton. Freudian slip there. Kaiji Ito, Squid Game protagonist, and then Disney for the Emperor's New Groove. You got one or two that jump out.
I've got my top three.
I've got my top three.
Okay. My number one is the person that leaves the safety of their home to take on a risky venture.
I almost specifically, I had already announced that the joke was done, so I couldn't do it. But when Bad Syntax said Lloyd Christmas, I was going to say, sorry, it was taken by Fisco. Because that is the exact story of Lloyd Christmas. But please, by all means.
Okay, let me go to my number two. Kaiji Ito. He's from a manga that was published in 1997.
Okay, and then your third choice?
And my third choice would be Senator Brutus of the Roman Empire. The Roman Republic.
Senator Brutus of the Roman Senate.
Yes.
Okay, so that was none of those were in mine. So this is interesting.
Okay.
So my top three were Evel Knievel, Lloyd Christmas, and Toranaga. I love those answers.
Yeah.
So what I'll do, why don't you pick one, and I'll pick one. We'll send them to McD, and he can decide. So you pick one of yours.
Can I just change it now?
Yeah.
I can? Okay, I'm sending it to McD. I'll send it to him in our StreamYard chat.
Oh, you're going to keep it private. Okay.
Is that? Oh well, I can send it in the Discord chat here,
or just say what it is.
Oh yeah, okay. I'll just say what it is. I'm gonna go with Brutus.
Brutus. Well, yeah, that was
my only serious answer.
Okay, great. And you know what? I loved it so much. I'm going to go with Lloyd Christmas. So I thought that was a fun answer I never would have thought of, and the man was at a risk. So, McD, you got Lloyd Christmas or Brutus. Senator Brutus of the Roman Senate. Both great answers. Break the tie for us. Who should win this sweet dice set?
I think the winner is the person that leaves the safety of their home or their comfort zone to take on a risky venture.
All right. Okay. I guess it's going to happen.
Who took a big gamble? People who gamble.
You know dozens of these people.
God damn it. I don't want to ironically send this dice set to Fisco. I feel like
I think we should. I think when an answer is this good,
you are promoting poor listener answers going forward.
I want vague answers from here on out. Vague as possible.
All right. If you two agree to do this, you really thought about this and this is what you want to do, I love Fisco. I'll set it to Fisco. But you got to agree to this.
I'm fine with it. I loved it the moment I heard it. But...
So did I. Send it to Fisco.
All right, Fisco wins with that nonsense first answer. An ironic giveaway of the listener award this week. Fisco, Squid writes in that Fisco is at a doctor's appointment. She'll be so excited when she gets out. Clorpdonk says, what's to argue? It was obviously Fisco. All right. Well done, Fisco. You earned yourself this sweet dice set. We'll get it out to you. It was great seeing you in Vegas. And yeah, all of you guys that came out there, it was awesome. Those of you that couldn't make it, we're sorry we missed you, but there will be more. We're going to Nashville in October. That's going to be awesome. Jared was just asking me about those dates. Hopefully you can get out there, Jared. That would be awesome.
Yeah, hopefully.
And, yeah, it's going to be such a freaking blast. So, all right. I think we'll wrap it up there, buddy. That is,
that was a great episode. Thank you guys for calling in.
Alien is a big that's a big topic to tackle, and
great topic.
I agreed with all of your takes on that. I did. Masterpiece, huge drop off.
Yeah,
and then some other fun stuff in there throughout the years. But yeah, get out there, play some Alien RPG. It's a great game. Look out for second edition coming soon. I hope to run more of it with you guys at various Naish events. So until then, take it easy, everybody. Have a good one, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.